And greetings, everybody. Weather prognosticator and meteorologist Chad Merrill taking you through the next 7 days worth of weather. And boy, do we have a lot of information to show you as we go throughout the next 7 days. We have changes in our weather pattern for sure. First of all, here's a look at the peak gust from the earlier week storm that slammed New England. Northern New Jersey also had some very heavy rain, but not the high winds that coastal New England saw. So we were looking at rainfall totals ranging from 5 to 6 inches in the northern part of the mid-Atlantic, with the peak gust 94 miles an hour, Edgartown, Massachusetts. And most of these spots are right along the coast. Even Boston Logan Airport had a gust of 59 miles per hour. That storm is history, and what we're looking at in the Hagerstown Town and Country Almanack website is we had forecasted a hard freeze in the northern part of the region a couple of days ago. Temperatures got close, but still haven't seen that hard freeze and the growing season just yet. We have showers in the forecast today and tomorrow, and then a fair trend with dry weather just in time for Halloween. Our Almanack website will be updated in the next couple of days to also feature the November outlook as written in the Cumberland Times News. So look for updates on our website over the next couple of days. Here's our storm system across the nation's midsection that is going to be moving into the east and also New England. It's going to be ramming into a very strong high pressure, creating mostly clear skies on this Thursday afternoon. So what we're going to see is a strong easterly wind component that's going to produce quite a bit of flooding along the mid-Atlantic coast, not so much New England. But we have a pattern change after this storm system exits off towards the north and east. Notice that we have the cloud cover in an arc-like pattern across the west. That's a high pressure ridge that's starting to build across the Great Basin in California. And that's going to change the configuration of the jet stream going forward. I'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. First of all, we're looking at some major to moderate flooding along the western shore of the Chesapeake Bay, thanks to the strong easterly wind that will be pushing in that fetch of water towards the Chesapeake Bay. So we are going to see the Severn River in Annapolis flood at 5.1 feet, which is in the moderate stage, and that will occur late Friday or early Saturday. In the nation's capital, we are also looking at flooding. The Potomac River at Georgetown will flood at moderate stage, and that will occur early this weekend. And a couple of other spots here along the coast will see flooding occurring. There's a very strong easterly wind component. So if you have any property in that area, definitely you want to do a little bit of sandbagging. And I'm talking about the sandbagging right along the western shores of the Chesapeake Bay. There will be rain, which we're going to see flash flooding occurring. But the reason I indicate sandbagging will be ideal is because of the easterly wind fetch producing some water here along the western shore of the Chesapeake Bay. Otherwise, for the remainder of the mid-Atlantic, we're not going to see that magnitude of flooding, especially once you get towards interior parts of the mid-Atlantic. But we also had that easterly fetch coming up the Delaware Bay. So the Delaware Bay, we are going to see some moderate to a major flooding late Friday, early Saturday. Fortunately, it will be fairly brief in nature as the storm system moves fairly fast. We will also see the potential for some flooding in parts of the Atlantic coast because of that easterly wind gradient. But up towards New York City, we're not looking at the magnitude of flooding that the coastal sections in the mid-Atlantic will see. The pressure gradient will relax a bit, the storm will start to weaken, and the same across New England, where they saw anywhere from 50 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts, and they're already recovering from that early week storm. We're not going to see that big fetch of water across eastern parts of New England. For example, Massachusetts Bay at this location, maybe 10.5 feet, which is below minor stage. And up toward Gloucester, we're going to see the level be below action stage. So that's good news for New England. Still going to rain. There's still going to be some potential for some flash flooding. Now let's talk about the October rainfall anomalies across the mid-Atlantic, because this is a good indication of where the heaviest rain is going to cause some flooding. The interior sections along I-81 have been below average for rainfall. So the rain that happens Friday into early Saturday will bring things closer to average, although I don't think that the rainfall is going to reach 1.5 to 2 inches across interior parts of the mid-Atlantic. So we'll end up October with below average rainfall. But notice that dichotomy in the rain across northern New Jersey, where the rain has been 2 inches above average in the far northern part of the state, contrasted with an inch below average in the southern part of the state. So this area of New Jersey that I'm highlighting north of Trenton will see flash flooding from this particular storm system coming up Friday because of the high rainfall amounts seen earlier in the week that have created this large departure in average. So that's October rainfall anomalies. Here are the impacts from the storm system. Again, flash flooding along the I-95 corridor. Coastal flooding will be a big concern along the western shore of the Chesapeake Bay and along the Delaware Bay, especially the northern part, because that fetch comes right up the water up in towards the northern part of the state. Coastal flooding along the New Jersey coast, and then flash flooding across northern parts of New Jersey. Now, this storm system represents the most recent climate trends in terms of storm track. There's a great write-up in the 2022 Hagerstown Town and Country Almanack about the climatology of the weather in the mid-Atlantic that references this particular storm track that has developed in modern times. Peak wind gust across the Alleghenies, about 38 to 40 miles an hour. I don't suspect that the wind gusts will get any higher than that. Most of the wind energy with the storm is above the cloud layer, and that won't mix down towards the surface. So despite the fact that there are wind advisories in the Alleghenies, I don't expect the wind gusts to hit 45 or 50 miles per hour. After the storm moves through, I referenced the change in the weather pattern. The West Pacific and the East Pacific oscillation are going to trend negative into the first 6 days of the month. Historically, when those two teleconnection patterns line up to be negative, we have cold weather all the way towards the Gulf Coast into the east as well. So the implications of this air mass that's coming up in early October, early November, is that there's going to be finally a widespread killing frost in many spots away from the coast, and there has not been a widespread killing frost at all across the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. There's a write-up in the Hagerstown Town and Country Almanack about that, and we'll get to the growing season days here very shortly. There will also be a couple of snowflakes in the highest elevations of the Alleghenies and the eastern Great Lakes, best chance between November 4th and 6th. But this round of cold weather will be temporary. It's not going to last the entire length of November, but we will be showing you the November outlook on our website coming up in a couple of days, our breakdown by each day and each week. So here is the most recent 5-year trends in the number of growing season days. So what we took was the last 5 years and subtract the previous 5 years from that. And notice we have positive numbers, meaning there have been more growing degree days in the number of growing season days in the last 5 years than there were in the earlier part of the 2000s. So what that means is the first frost or the killing frost of the season is getting later, and the spring freeze, the final spring freeze, is getting earlier in the springtime. So that's an interesting tidbit. And there's more information about that in the Hagerstown Town and Country Almanack. One of our stories talks about this, specifically the number of growing degree days and how it's changed over the last 30 years. Here's a look at the night sky going forward. We have Moon and the Mercury, which will be visible in the morning sky from 6:22 a.m. to 7:23 a.m. on November 3rd. And then we have on Thursday the 4th, Uranus will be visible in the sky from 7:56 p.m. Thursday in the eastern sky to the western sky by 5:53 a.m. on Friday. And then we have the Moon and Venus will be visible November 8th, the Moon and Saturn November 10th, and the Moon and Jupiter visible on November 11th. So you'll be able to see all these planets in the sky, which will be some sight to see, November 8th through the 11th. Bishops has a couple of running events going on, and here's the weather forecast. October 30th, the Semper Fi races, Georgetown on the C&O Canal towpath. Partly cloudy, mild, temperatures in the 50s in the morning, 60s in the afternoon. And the only other event that's going on is, of course, on Halloween Day, there's a race in Fredericksburg. It'll be a little bit breezy in the afternoon, but for the race in the morning, partly cloudy, temperatures in the 50s. In the afternoon, temperatures in the lower 60s. So as I stop sharing my screen here, and we'll come back to the Hagerstown Town and Country Almanack website. But first of all, I will show you what's going on here with the rainfall across eastern Massachusetts. A couple other spots. You can see the rivers here. The Neponset River in Norwood's going to be below flood stage, so no problems with flash flooding with this storm system across the Northeast. Again, you can always go to our website, update it. It'll be updated in a couple of days to put on some fresh information, including our November forecast. You can see when we expect the snowfall across parts of the Mid-Atlantic, the freeze, as well as some mild days and some windy days. So thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you next week as we dig further into the month of November.